Hi, it's Michelle Birdsong. We're exposing injustice in this video. Let's begin with a definition of the word act. It's a noun, a thing done, a deed, a criminal act. Similar word. Deed, action, gesture. 2. A pretense. She was putting on an act and laughing a lot. Similar. Pretense, false display. What does act mean? Act definition. A bill which has passed through the various legislative steps required for it and which has become law. Related terms: statutes, legislation, law, regulation, enactment, bill. Synonymous with the term enactment or statute. President Dwight David Eisenhower, Supreme Command of Allied Forces during World War II, said, "Government is force." Frank Zappa said, "Government is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex." President Eisenhower's farewell address. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. Okay, that's the end of his speech. Now, the Internet itself began as ARPANET, an effort of the Defense Department's Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, in the late 1960s, when the supervision of visionaries like Bob Taylor, decode the word visionaries. Vision, Aries. Aries, T. Michelle Birdsong, born April 9th. Her vision was the Holy Royal Family of True Humans et al. More about that later. Bob Taylor worked at the Stanford Research Institute, a private organization, but his efforts were funded by DARPA. Follow the money. The information is from Time Magazine, Techland. In 1978, a 14-year-old boy, Shiva, Ayyadurai, began his work on an email system for the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. He invented email. Ray Tomlinson is universally credited as the creator of email as part of a program for ARPANET in 1971. The death of Ray Tomlinson, credited as the inventor of email, has rekindled the controversy over Shiva Ayyadurai's place in history. Just like after his death, Serbian-American Nikola Tesla was credited by the Supreme Court with being the inventor of the radio, not Marconi, who had used 17 of Nikola Tesla's patents to create his radio. The uninformed still think Marconi invented the radio. Meanwhile, in 1978, a 14-year-old boy, Shiva Ayyadurai, began his work on an email system for the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. His task was to emulate the paper-based inter-office mail system electronically, and in 1982 he copyrighted his software called email. Ayyadurai's contention has been that while Tomlinson created a rudimentary system to send text messages, he is the one who built the email used in its present form today, and thus should be credited as the inventor of email. Note, I agree. Here's the full text of his version of events as told in an email exchange. Propaganda lie promoted by defense contractor Raytheon. My deepest condolences to the Tomlinson family for the loss of their loved one. But Ray Tomlinson did not invent email. His story is the biggest propaganda lie of modern technology history, promoted deliberately by the PR machine of defense contractor Raytheon. Just like Nikola Tesla is not given the credit he is due for his research, which laid the foundation for Wi-Fi. Only Silicon Valley sort of credits Tesla. They created a statue of Tesla, around which is free Wi-Fi, Tesla's goal. Free Wi-Fi and free electricity for all. Upon his death, Tesla's death, the government, the FBI, sealed off Tesla's room, his hotel room, and collected his findings, including how to control the weather, which the geophysicists do today. They cause tornadoes, they cause tsunamis and hurricanes, etc. They are also trying to block the sun, injecting chemicals into the atmosphere. That's called chemtrails by true media. Trying to block out the sun, the source of light, heat, and energy for food. They are mad. Okay, back to the Economic Times article about propaganda. Ray Tomlinson. Even minimal research makes this clear. His own contemporaries have made clear, citing his false claims and others perpetrated by Raytheon. What's deplorable is how, when the facts of my inventing email, this is Shiva talking, in 1978 finally came out in February 6, 2012, following acceptance of artifacts by the Smithsonian, Raytheon and industry insiders unleashed racist vitriol to deny the black and white facts. Not one of them, however, exposed the lies of Tomlinson. They strong-armed and pressured any journalists at organizations such as Washington Post, Huffington Post, and others to issue retractions and corrections with the aim of confusing the public by equating electronic text messaging with email. For example, in their correction, Washington Post in 2012, shortly after the Smithsonian honoring, stated that I was not the creator of electronic messaging, but I never claimed that I was. This was best analyzed recently by a reporter at Your Story, who exposed how Washington Post's correction played into this confusion, allowing Raytheon and Tomlinson to get credit for inventing email, part of a well-orchestrated multi-million-dollar brand-building effort. What we are witnessing now in real time is a continuation of this deliberate campaign on the occasion of Tomlinson's death. Raytheon lies are part of a well-orchestrated multi-million-dollar brand-building effort to fossilize a false narrative that Raytheon staff were the inventors of email, which is far from the truth. What Tomlinson and the ARPANET, a predecessor of the Internet designed for the military, folks invented was a rudimentary form of text messaging at best. But I created email, the entire system, replicating all the functions of the interoffice mail, inbox, outbox, folders, attachments, memo, etc. The email we all know and experience today. Never did I use any component of the ARPANET to create the system. Scientist Michio Kaku said, Americans are dummies. America has the worst system of education known to science. If it wasn't for the genius visa allowing genius immigrants such as Nikola Tesla and Shiva into our country to create useful products, we'd be nowhere. The first John D. Rockefeller said, I'm not interested in educating people to be thinkers. I'm interested in educating people to be workers. The institutions of American education brainwash perception and indoctrinate students to repeat dogma, left-wing socialist, communist, Democratic Party propaganda, and spread hatred. Tomlinson and Raytheon staff didn't have the brains to develop a complicated project such as email. Just like Marconi with Nikola Tesla's 17 patents, ideas, didn't have the brains to invent the radio, or he would have done it didn't have the brains to invent the radio without Tesla's 17 patents, or he would have done it. Back to the article. Intend to co-opt true origin of email. The campaign of Raytheon and the ARPANET industry insiders to claim they are the inventors of email is a relatively recent effort, but intended to co-opt the true origin of email. One simply needs to find a copy of the ARPANET brochure dated as late as 1986, and one will see no reference to the word email in caps or small letter email or electronic mail in the index of their brochure. However, I had received the official copyright recognizing me as the official inventor of email on August 30th, 1982 for my 1978 invention. Silence of Indian tech leaders demonstrates slavery. Sundar Pichai's Google, which claims to do no evil, simply tweeted out the same racist history. Pichai himself, an Indian, lacks the courage to share the facts, as his masters in Silicon Valley would not take kindly to it. I know it sounds harsh, but it is what it is. What it is the name of the Edwin Birdsong album, created under the publicly unrecognized leadership of his then wife, T. Michelle Birdsong, also known as Michelle Birdsong, who has being as Nikola Tesla, believe it or not. In fact, the silence of Indian tech leaders demonstrates their own slavery to the white elites in the military-industrial academic complex, part of a long historical lineage of Indian indentured servitude. Shortly after my documents were accepted, this is Shiva talking, were accepted by the Smithsonian, I was maligned in major media and blogs. This was perpetrated and facilitated by Tomlinson's employer and sponsor, Raytheon, through their cabal of industry insiders. Industry, IND, is the 8th Avenue subway train. Train of thought, U.S. Try. U.S. train of thought, try and fail. Like I said, they were trained to be workers, not thinkers. Okay? New topic. Perpetrates the notion that all great innovations must come from war. Now, with Tomlinson's death, Raytheon disgustingly continues to exploit the demise of their frontman to perpetrate their lie so as to solidify their false brand as a warmongering bastion of innovation. This serves Raytheon's war machine in the lucrative cybersecurity market and perpetrates a colonialist, racist, imperialist narrative that only whites can innovate great things, and a deeper lie that all great innovations must come from war. After all, war protects us. Talk and share protects us. Okay? After all, war protects us. Weapons keep us powerful. This is the thinking of the opposition. And the holy triangle of military, industrial, academic complex makes our lives modern. Who would ever question such a force of positivity? That's sarcasm, you get it. A force, by the way, which keeps us funding wars to dominate, maim, and kill our enemies, mainly the poor, people of color, and the disenfranchised. The same people, by the way, who are my people. I'm gonna kill our enemies. Okay, so these are my people whom I represent, says Shiva. It's time the world knows that it was a dark-skinned, low-caste Indian immigrant who invented email. Yay, hooray, we're telling the truth. Note, it's an American light-skinned black woman, Timothy Birdsong, who has being a Serbian immigrant American citizen Nikola Tesla, who invented many of the modern conveniences in the world, including laying the foundation for Wi-Fi and creating AC, alternating current. It's time we end once and for all the whitewashing of great innovations by people of color to serve the machine of war and profit. But regardless of the multiple aspects of Raytheon's behavior, an elementary and simple truth remains. Email was invented in Newark, New Jersey in the University of Medical and Dental of Dentistry of New Jersey in 1978. Latest comment. Shiva, I agree with what you are saying, just like Gandhi never got the Nobel Peace Prize allegedly due to racism. Note, Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize, $1 million plus, due to racism because he was a biracial sold by propaganda as the first black president. Gandhi did not give us peace because of splitting India into Pakistan and India. There will never be peace in that region, short of a miracle, according to the great master of India, Sarwan Singh, who has being as Lord Krishna, the inspiration of the Hare Krishna movement. Back to comment. You likely got a dose of racism. Note, T. Michelle lived under Jim Crow laws until she was 16, at which time she left the South, Tennessee, and moved to Chicago. Commenter said, I feel racism suppresses throughout human history. However, if you want a serious rethink from society, you must not approach via the racism route. It confuses the issue, even if it's true. I suggest you keep hammering away at your point until support builds over time. I just received a WhatsApp message saying you were the inventor, not racism mentioned. I will distribute so world knows. Hopefully history will be rewritten. Best luck.